Good evening. Tonight we're presenting, the LPAC will be presenting. So we elected the board in April, and we have two presidents, Doris Avelar and Rosa Tejada. We have one vice president, but he's not here today because he works until later, Eduardo Pineda. And we also have Ruby Dia Escobar as our secretary. So the LPAC stands for English Learner Parent Advisory Committee, and it's related to the Look Act. So a year ago, November, Governor Baker signed into law a series of acts intended to increase participation of English learner families in the Commonwealth, as well as to change the laws around bilingual education, to also support the seal of biliteracy. So this was part of a lot of different proposals that went forth that school districts have started acting on. So we've started with our LPAC this year, and an LPAC is required if you have 100 or more Ls, or in some cases, if there are fewer Ls, but the Ls aren't performing, then the districts have to have an LPAC. Y ahora en español, pero les necesito que tú quieres venir aquí.
Okay.
Bueno, leer mejor.
El Comité Asesor de Padres de Aprendiz de Inglés y Look Act. El 22 de noviembre de 2017, el gobernante Baker firmó la ley Look, conocida como la ley relativa a la oportunidad de idioma para nuestros niños. La ley Look requiere que las escuelas establezcan un LPAC sí, 100 o más Ls. Las escuelas tienen un rendimiento bajo o crónico y tienen un desempeño inferior a un programa para Ls.
Next time. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So as per the Massachusetts guidance, there are some duties that the English Learner Parent Advisory Committee is supposed to carry out. So those include providing advice to the district or school regarding its English learner education programs. They're also supposed to be meeting regularly with school officials to participate in the planning and development of programs designed to improve educational opportunities for ELs. They're supposed to be participating in the review of school improvement plans and district improvement plans as they relate to English learners. And additionally, they should be reviewing proposals by the district to offer new instructional programs for ELs. So part of the Look Act, as I said, kind of reversed former laws about bilingual education, dual language programs. So the role of the LPAC as per the guidance, and that's available on the Massachusetts Department of Education Elementary and Secondary Education website. If you're interested, you can Google LPAC guidance, and there's a whole brochure in like 12 different languages. So I pretty much just cut and paste. So that's not our hope, that's as per the guidance.
Deberes del LPAC según la guía de TC de MAC. Proporcionar asesoramiento a distrito o a la escuela con respecto a sus programas de educación para estudiantes de inglés. Reunirse regularmente con los funcionarios escolares para participar en la planificación y desarrollo de programas diseñados para mejorar las oportunidades educativas para los EL. Participar en la revisión de los planes de mejoramiento escolar y planes de mejoramiento del distrito a medida que los planes ralte a ELs. Revisar propuestas del distrito escolar para ofrecer un nuevo programa de instrucción para los ELs.
So this is our timeline of events that we did throughout the school year. We met once informally to get to know each other, and not really informally, but once a month. We met with them, and Kelly and I would run the meetings, and we had agendas, and it was just ways to get to know them better and for them to feel comfortable with us and feel comfortable coming to the school. We organized meetings with social events. We had a bingo night and a movie night, and it was a success. We had lots of parents show up, and they attended the superintendent search forums, and they asked questions while they were here, which was amazing. We held our elections in April, and they also advocated for English classes for adults. They really wanted English classes during the day because most of them don't work during like the winter. So we got them classes, and they showed up, and it was great. And they were so thankful for the English class.
That was through the community school, actually, so that was a huge win. So thanks again, Tracy, you're here.
Yes,
We
thanks.
the parents asked so that they could go to school while their students are in school, because at night they all have little ones. They're at home being moms, so that was a huge success. And they are learning English, which is great too, but they're too shy to speak in English with you.
Okay. Cronología de eventos del año escolar 2018-2019. Se reunieron una vez al mes de manera informal para conocernos mejor. Reuniones organizadas con eventos sociales, bingo, noche de cine. Asistieron los foros de búsqueda del superintendente, celebrada elección en abril. Abogaron por una clase de inglés para adultos durante el día.
So for next year, so when we said that the meetings were informal, it's because we were facilitating them. And with the bylaws, it should be more like the SNAC, the Special Ed Parent Advisory. And we should have bylaws and kind of run meetings like school committee does, but we weren't formal in that way. We kind of met and we learned about the access test, and we learned about the Look Act, the guidance. What else did we learn about? ¿Qué más? We asked what you're interested in. School uniform, so
Yes.
they just, what's good. So they were informal, but they would set the agenda and ask us what they wanted. And then like we had teachers come, special ed teachers, regular ed teachers. So next year will be more formal in that. And what they're interested in doing is creating the bylaws. So we're looking at the SNAC bylaws so that they're similar to what we have for special ed. They're interested in researching ways to lower dropout rates of English learners. So they too see that that's something that they would like to work on as a community. They want to promote dual language and propose a steering committee to explore that. They want to advocate for after-school programs for English learners. They did advocate for that this year as well, but we had already budgeted our money for summer programs. They would like to learn about ways to help schools improve the academic success of bilingual students, and they would like to continue to plan social events, especially in the winter, and find ways to have more people come, our bilingual families, as well as the rest of you and other families.
Mirando hacia adelante, año escolar 2019-2020. Crear leyes, investigar maneras de reducir el abandono escolar de los ELS, promover el lenguaje dual, promover un comité de dirección, abogar por programas después de la escuela para ELS, conocer las formas de ayudar a las escuelas a mejorar el éxito académico de los estudiantes bilingües, planificar eventos sociales.
So, do you have any questions for us? And you'll have to do the translation. Oh, are you not allowed
More
to talk?
comments.
Are you,
Please don't be upset by the first part of my statement. There's a big but at the end. I am not a fan of the apparently unceasing creation of additional laws and regulations that put responsibilities on our school districts.
Can you hold on 1 second?
But,
Could you, wait, could,
oh,
it
okay,
takes,
yeah,
Está hablando de que dice que él no es un fan de grupos que tienen que poner más leyes en la escuela porque ese es otro trabajo para las personas que ya trabajan en la escuela.
que
Pero-
tiene un grande perro y ahora,
Pero
pero.
but I am a big fan of this. I think this is a great idea, and I thank you all particularly for volunteering to participate. With everything else you have to do in your lives, This is great that you're volunteering to do this, and I wish you more and more success as time goes by.
Dice, pero dice que es un gran fan del grupo que están y que dice que les espera mucho éxito con el grupo.
Thank you, thank you.
Do you have other members in the committee that are perhaps not Spanish speakers?
Yes,
So our vice president is actually Brazilian, so he
Brazilian.
speaks Portuguese.
yes.
And we're trying to reach out more.
Eduardo,
Yeah.
is here. He's
Eduardo Pineda is
Brazilian.
our vice president. He is Brazilian.
He's Brazilian, and he speaks
Yeah.
Spanish and English
yes.
as well. So he's kind of our key,
Mhm.
but he works later.
I would just like to say thank you for the work that you've signed up to do. It's very important. And particularly thank you for your work in the superintendent search and attending those meetings.
Dice que gracias por todo el
Thank you.
trabajo que they understand a lot.
More
than they
Just
can
trying to
speak.
speak.
But they're here.
Ditto, thank you, and please know that we as school committee support you in your endeavor. So please reach out if we can assist in any way.
Okay.
Thank you very
Jen,
much
may
for
I-
being
may
here
I
tonight.
just ask a
Absolutely.
question? I think you have the school committee here, and they are listening. Do you have advice? One of the, what, asesoramiento? Sí.
Uh-huh.
What would be something that you would ask your school committee to think about? And maybe you don't have anything tonight, maybe another time you want to let us know, but I think that they're here to listen to all of our residents, and certainly want to hear some things that you talked about. I know that you mentioned investigating dual language, so that might be something that you've talked about, but
So solo estaba diciendo de que quiere que sepa que el comité escolar está acá para escucharlas y está aquí para ayudarlas. So, no tiene que ser ahorita, pero que piensen como que les gustaría que ellos les ayuden más. Por ejemplo, hablaron del lenguaje dual, de tener clases así. So, es algo que puede empezar y ellos están acá para
And
escucharlos.
they have a little
Oh,
piece of
thank
something
you.
they
Thank
want
you.
to ask
Thank
for
you so
now.
much.
thank you.
So, si tienen algo que les gustaría preguntarles a ellos ahorita o pueden pensarlo y después dejan saber.
No, pues, o sea, estamos acá con la idea de trabajar juntos y ver cómo nosotros comenzamos a envolver más la comunidad hispana, los padres hispanos, para que se pongan más interés. Entonces, estamos aquí para hacer un equipo.
So she's saying that thank you to all, and she says that the main idea for the group is to have them be more involved in school, especially because we have a very huge Hispanic community, and they just want them to be more involved and help plan things for school. So she thinks that first things first is just building that relationship and that trust.
Yo sé que al principio tal vez va a ser un poco difícil porque tal vez los padres porque no se sienten cómodos por el idioma, pero tal vez ya estando nosotros acá ellos sienten más como confianza de unirse.
So she's saying that her hope for the group is that knowing that there are parents who don't feel comfortable coming into school because of the language barrier, that now that they have this group, that parents will feel more comfortable knowing that they're here to represent them.
Absolutely. Do you have set dates for your meetings?
This
Yes.
year we did the third Friday of every month, and we did Fridays because
Oh, this past year.
this past year, because they all work, so they were like Fridays are best. And next year we're gonna do the first Friday of every month, unless it's like a holiday or something.
Where do you meet typically?
We meet in the district conference room, and what's kind of
Yes.
special, we can invite you to come, is high school students, so thank you, Dr. Bucky, volunteer for their community hours, and it's so cute because they babysit. And so a lot of our
Yes.
moms and dads have little ones, so there's little kids running around in Tracy's after school space, so that's key too, because she has all those toys, and the kids are playing, and Mr. Kozort's been gracious in supporting us in buying pizza. So we've had pizza, plus they bring food, a lot of pupusas. So it's actually a social meeting, a way to relax once a month, but then learn about school together. And having that childcare is so important, and it's cute. That's like my favorite thing all month because I get to just kind of I just leave them and I go play. So we will let you know. They're on the calendar next year, and please come. And we can make it more formalized too.
Thank you.
Tenemos ya las fechas de las reuniones y de todos los eventos para el próximo año.
So yeah, so we met a couple weeks ago. So they planned what dates they wanted for the meetings, and also they have already scheduled for social events when they want them.
Yes.
Perfect. Please keep that information coming our way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You wanna stay here while,
Yeah.
Dr. Bucky comes up and makes introduction?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So my introduction will be brief. It's always nice to be able to present to the school committee when we're recognizing students and recognizing them for future plans. And it's no secret that the Nantucket Golf Club board has been very generous to the high school, and they continue in that generosity with a new program begun last year with the Vocational Scholars Program, and it expanded pretty significantly this year. And I'll have Mr. Tom Brissett, the executive director, come down and do the introduction of the scholars, and we may even put them on the spot to ask them to say a little bit to the school committee about their future plans and about the award that they're receiving tonight. So, Mr. Brissett.
All right. Thank you very much. As Dr. Bucky mentioned, we started the vocational scholarship program last year, and everyone's very excited about it. And this year, we were able to award 3 recipients. So I'm going to kind of read their profiles, if that's okay, and tell you a little bit about the process. So the process this year included a paper application. Oh,
I'm just gonna
sorry.
get that a little bit closer.
How about, is it okay if I sit?
Yes.
Okay, I'm really good at sitting. The process this year included a paper application, screenings by select faculty, staff, and administration at Nantucket High School, development of applicant profiles, and a final proposal of nominees by the review group. This year we received 10 candidate applications, double the number of candidates considered in 2018. After receiving the applications on March 15th, vocational teachers were consulted about each student. These teachers were able to provide personal, anecdotal, and academic insights into the candidates. School counselor testimonials regarding student character, work ethic, future plans, academic history, resilience, and perseverance were included as part of the review process. Mr. Michael Kozort and Dr. John Bucky were also consulted and provided their recommendations and feedback. And I'll just read a little bit the profiles before we introduce them, and I'll ask the recipients to come up after I say your name. I'm going to start with Malkia Blake, because she was unable to attend because she's out of the country, but sent me the nicest email. Malkia Blake has worked 2 jobs the past 2 summers to begin saving money for college. She is committed to obtaining a college degree, explaining, pursuing a tertiary education has always been a dream of mine, since it is not a very common occurrence in my family. And education is one of the very few ways I have seen other people escape from the grasp of poverty and illiteracy. Malkia moved from Jamaica to the United States specifically for educational opportunity. At NHS, she has taken woodshop and nutrition in school and is a member of the NHS competitive culinary team. Her vocational teachers describe her as brilliant, with a knack for practicality and an always positive attitude. However, it is her summer job at Petrichor Wine Bar that has allowed her to study to truly develop her love for culinary arts, which she hopes to pursue at the Culinary Institute of America next year. There, she has done everything from creating new dishes for the menu to changing the grease in the fryer. While Malkia looks to the future as she pursues her dreams, she also helps to support her mother in any way she can and has explained, "My hope is to gain this scholarship so my mother could leave one of her jobs and pursue her own education," getting choky, "which she has put on the back burner to help me reach my goals of becoming a chef." Malkia will be attending a 4-year program at the Culinary Institute of America to study culinary arts. Malkia Blake. Gideon Holgate, a student athlete, has won a variety of sportsmanship awards throughout high school. In a letter of recommendation, his English teacher said, "Gideon's past and present teachers with whom I am friends speak glowingly of him when his name comes up in conversation." His woodshop teacher described him as a leader who can and will responsibly steer other students in the right direction when they may not be making the best decisions. This same teacher said, only half-jokingly, that Gideon is the greatest person in history. Though Gideon has excelled in both academic and vocational classes, maintaining an honors roll and even making principal's list, he said he has always been a bit lost and a bit scared regarding my plans after graduation. However, as he began to hone his skills as a woodworker through his vocational courses, he saw his future career starting to unfold. Now he's looking forward to studying future design, wood, and art as he enrolls at Massachusetts College of Art and Design in this fall. Ladies and gentlemen, Gideon Holgate. So good. Michael Bartley. No, stay, please. Michael Bartley attributes his successes to his mother's sacrifices. A single mom with 4 kids, she has worked hard to create opportunities for her children. As soon as he entered high school, Michael began to contribute to the household, using his earnings from his position as a prep cook at 45 Surfside to help his family. It was there that Michael discovered his love for cooking, and he's excited to study culinary arts at Johnson & Wales this fall. The path to college has not been an easy one for Michael. He moved to Nantucket from Jamaica in middle school after his grandfather, whom he had been living with, passed away. He encountered obstacles in his transition, especially academically, as he struggled with reading. Nevertheless, he persevered and found success in high school's vocational program, excelling in woodshop, auto, and culinary. The 3 vocational teachers attest to his incredible perseverance, focus, intelligence, and overall character, calling him a stellar student in person. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Bartley. And these are our 2019 Vocational Scholarship Award recipients. And what we do is Susan McFarland, who runs our financial aid piece for the Nantucket Scholar, will meet with their families, determine the need that they have, because this is more about that with this program, and we'll do the best to top off what they've already gotten from the community, which is a great thing. So thanks for letting us come here today.
Is this the 4 years?
For the 4 years. There's 4 years for the 2 culinary schools, and I think he uses a 2.5-year certificate degree. So it's great. Very exciting. Thanks.
Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. I would have seen you. Thank you very much. All right, technology update. Hey everyone. Hi. Hi. Microphone. Welcome.
He's still
Upstairs, yeah. Okay.
Yes,
thanks, Jen. Wanted to go over some of the accomplishments that the tech department has attained this year. I've made lists of things that are in your presentation. I'll pick out a few that were particularly either time-consuming or a challenge, and also are making a major impact on the school. The email transition to Gmail, as you know, has been a trial. It's taken a long time, but we're getting towards the very end of it. We've finished upgrading one of the primary servers that will get the calendaring and everything working. So we hope to do that in the next few weeks. Another thing that we were involved in was the development of central registration, which has been rolled out. I did some preliminary research, more based on the fact that our Aspen has a family connection to enroll students into on the technical side, and we wanted to really gear that up and get the families, all families in their own language, being able to use that, because we feel the data is coming in more consistently and accurately. As I was researching that, it became crystal clear that every school would love to have one person who would be able to meet with the families in multiple languages and be able to process consistently that information in a very compassionate way. And I'm proud to say my daughter has that position, Sarah Erickson. So there was a lot of documentation of what each of the schools were doing, and then how the automated process worked, and then I handed off. So that was really an exciting project. And then we've expanded our virtual environment, and if you'll forgive me, I'm going to speak geek for a second. Our virtual environment is a series of servers and a huge amount of storage that allows you to spin up servers within minutes for any new initiatives that you have, and/or for failover on some of your more important software packages that you're using. And our server farm was rapidly approaching beyond useful life, and we were able to get some additional funding this spring to upgrade that server farm, and almost all of our servers have been moved over with no impact on the staff. They don't even really know when it's happening. So, and we've really stepped up the amount of backups and stuff we have. So, the last one is we've more and more been creating a library of tech guides, which are just little one-page Google Docs that all the staff has access to if they have the time. If they're standing in front of a class about to teach a bunch of children, you may not have time to go look something up, but we do want to have those resources available. So as we assist teachers and families with things, we come up with those tech guides and throw them into that library. Specifically at NES, the lab was changed around in the library so that it's around the outside of the library. We've got it wired much better, and it's a lot easier to maintain as far as swapping out equipment if anything's not working. So that worked very well. The iPad cart, we got one more iPad cart and 30 iPads. The teachers, especially in the kindergarten and first grade, are really, really enjoying how easy it is for their students to just walk up and use these things. Whereas before we were trying to train a student who doesn't really understand the keyboard yet, how to do a project or something. So they use the mouse a lot, but the iPads have really helped. And we will continue growing that program. Document cameras allow a teacher to be writing, sitting in her desk or showing a document and having it show up on her smartboard. So that's been really useful. Very inexpensive tool that almost every single teacher uses every day. And kindergarten registration was kind of the beginning of the central registration process. We worked with Kim during her January registration to see, to try to get as many families registered as possible during that. That won't happen going forward because now we have the central registration process, which will streamline that. At NIS, we did, as part of the whiteboard project, they had special whiteboards put in with a coating on them, and some of the boards were still showing signs of being warped. So I worked pretty hard, my staff worked hard with Diane to get those replaced with the contractor. So it was a long time getting that project wrapped up, but that got done too. We also, I'm gonna jump ahead for a second, we were able to get Chromebooks for the 10th graders. And when we did that, we were able to migrate their old Chromebooks down and replace some of the older equipment, much older equipment at NIS in the carts in each classroom with that equipment as we roll the inventory down that way. CPS, beginning of the year, 6th grade Chromebooks, as usual. We also started using some things other than the old smart boards with the projectors. We have more smart panels. We started using those. And a few of the teachers were fine with having us put TVs in their classroom instead of using a smart board. So there were certain classrooms that consistently were used in a way that they didn't need to have that interactive ability. The cost is substantially less, certainly. At NHS, we were able to do Chromebooks for the entire 9th grade class, incoming in September, and then the 10th grade class mid-year. Those 10th grade Chromebooks were also used for MCAS this year for the first time. They were ready to do MCAS on the Chromebooks, the state was, and we also did a biology test a few weeks ago so that test, MCAS test, can also be done on Chromebooks. Nantucket was a program that's just getting started. We had a couple of students initially become involved. One of them has stuck with it. She comes down during her advisory at least once a week, and she fixes Chromebooks. And we're going to be hiring her this summer as an intern, a few hours, well, I guess somewhere between 20 and 30 hours a week, and she will be working with the tech staff that's year-round in the library repairing the Chromebooks.
That's great.
So I'm hoping that we can start growing some tech people.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity for students.
Yes, it really is. I was also able to talk to the Innovation Pathways groups both in the fall and the spring. So it was interesting. Their eyes were kind of wide with all the facts and figures I was throwing at them. So the esports program, we assisted in getting our iMac lab working for esports, which was a blast. And then we tried some new type of interactive panel called Clear Touch panels. We could get bigger ones at a lower cost. So we put those into the math science area and in the chorus room, and we migrated their newer boards down again into other classrooms. At the community school, down at 56 Center Street, we've been assisting with upgrades. They have a new server down there so that even if they were to become disconnected from the high school, they can still do everything they need to do with the documents. And we assisted in the planning for them to upgrade their classroom and their testing center. Infrastructure upgrades, we've done servers and domain controllers. We upgraded the virtual environment, as I said before. The NHS NIS server backup, we've gotten that streamlined. We've upgraded a lot of the wireless equipment in the building and covered more areas that there may have been a little blank spots. In the classroom, we've assisted with the MCAS and the map testing, interactive screens, as I said before, and the TVs. Oops, skipped one. Nope, I got it. So I wanted to give you consistent information the way Karen did it, so I used these slides, but I tweaked them a little bit. On this one, you'll notice that in fiscal year 18, if you were to compare these numbers with Karen's numbers last year, there are far more desktops and laptops. And that was because that was equipment that was purchased for NIS within the building project.
Mm-hmm.
She was listing equipment that was purchased through the tech department previously, but I thought it was important to see those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
This slide shows roughly how much we invest each year in the type of equipment. For professional development, we're continuing with the Aspen Student Information System and reaching out using more of it, along with the Family Connection. Google and G Suite is growing. And we were assisting with the Access Test Administration along with MCAS. Administrative functions, again, Aspen, the Family Connection, and the EL tracking system. We've actually paid for some programming to be done to those to make them more user-friendly, and to, especially with EL, there were a lot of fields that were not being captured that Kelly needed, so we were able to help with that. And then, as you know, Joanne is involved in the SIMS, EPIMS, and SCS in October, March, and June. We're about to lose her into her cave to be working consistently on those projects. Looking ahead to 2019-2020, our staff is shifting around a little bit. So we have 3 full-time people and 2.77. So for the first time, we'll be able to cover all of the schools during the school year. Take a little bit getting the new person up to speed. I hope to welcome more Nantuckets. We will be continuing the one-to-one program. We're doing an inventory this summer. My staff is already working frantically at trying to scan all the barcodes before all the equipment goes hiding into closets and stuff. And then we will look at, we use a tool called SpiceWorks, which has been analyzing a lot of the equipment to find out, do we still have Windows 7 machines? Where are they? Can we get them upgraded as soon as possible, hopefully all this summer? Windows 7 goes away in January, so we have to do that. We also hope, I haven't started on it yet, we hope to come up with a ticketing system. Right now we have email. If anybody has a problem, they email the MPS tech staff email, and it automatically goes out to all of us, and we're all monitoring it all day. If we had a ticketing system, we'd be able to more follow what's happening with that particular request, and see who's the most recent person to work on it and what the status is. And that would grow into a little bit of project management on the tech side. And then NES clearly has been kind of our neglected hardware stepchild, and we really need to, with the inventory, identify their needs and figure out how best to serve them. Any questions? Yes.
Steve.
Yeah, a couple of quick, but I hope quick questions. How's the longevity on the Chromebooks?
I'm going on the prescribed useful life, which is 4 to 5 years. I would say right off the top of my head, 60 to 70% are lasting that 4 to 5 years. Once they are cycled out, for example, 6th grade the 6th grade gets new ones, they use them in 7th and 8th grade. When they graduate from 8th grade, then they get a new one in 9th grade. Those 3-year-old ones are going down to NIS to go into their carts. So the equipment, sometimes we have to replace the batteries and make sure they're up to date. There have been a couple of purchases that were done a couple of years ago where they were warranted for 3 years. So we try to get some of them replaced under their warranty. Most of the ones we're purchasing now are only warranted for a year. So, and then we have some of the old Samsungs, which are 5+ years old, and we put those into our loaner carts, and we have them available down at NIS also, and we actually use some for MCAS testing. So they're always available and charged.
The approximate 30% of troublesome Chromebooks, are they repairable or disposable or what?
If they're repairable, we repair them. Once they are beyond useful life or the parts are going to be expensive enough, it's really not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly keeping our parts inventory in stock, and it's depleted pretty quickly. At this point, this year, since I came, I've made the decision that as the Samsungs break, I'm considering that permanent. So we'll start phasing those out. Along with that is we're looking into right now, we're trying to finalize what our order will be in July and August for September. And the equipment is so much more reasonable that we may be able to get Chromebooks with Gorilla Glass so that those screens won't break so easily. And there's also some that are touchscreen available. So we have to look at those options and figure out what will be best to phase in.
Sounds like you're right on top of it. It sounds like we're exceeding our initial expectations from, was it 6 years ago that we started? They're holding up better, and that's great. Simpler, quicker question, where are the guides located? Are they in the resource section of the main NPS site?
They're not on the main NPS site. They're in the Google Docs. So they're available to teachers and people that have access within the Google Docs. It's one of the shared drives.
Oh, I don't know whether I have that or not.
I'm not sure whether you do or not.
Okay. And I would like to make a comment about a generally related issue. Has nothing to do with you. I would like to put to rest once and for all the apparently persistent rumors that anyone on this school committee wants to get rid of Chromebooks. if I'm beginning to sound a bit cranky about it, it's because the rumors won't go away. To my knowledge, no one on this committee wants to get rid of Chromebooks. Period. Exclamation point. We've invested a lot, and it's been worth every bit of it. From day one, when we piloted them in the 7th grade, the way they're being used, what they're being used for, the concerns that apparently are morphing into these rumors are regarding some training aspects for the kids, some access aspects that we want to look at. It's on our menu, our agenda for the retreat, which is why I'm mentioning it. We want to be looking at where the kids can get and what they can get to that we don't want them to get to, and how we can deal with it. It's those sorts of things that we're looking at. In no way, shape, or form are we looking to try to get rid of the Chromebooks. Thank you for listening,
Thank you, Steve.
all of you.
Thank you. Zona?
I'm good, thank you.
Pauline?
Just to say thank you to you, Jen. It's always a wonderful reminder of just how integral your staff are to the school. And I've had plenty of years of being here in the summer. And if anyone's foolish to think that all of your staff go home and you're sitting in your office nice and quiet, it's far from it. With all of the catch-up work, but also the school remains busy. And I know that you help all of the outside visitors as well. So thank you. I'm glad that we've got you on our team.
Tim?
Thank you very much.
I'm just very excited about the Nantucket program you're starting. I've seen other schools initiate this program, and I think it's a great opportunity for our students to get, I mean, they know so much more than some adults in the building, so it's a great opportunity. Thank you.
And if I may add, we've been talking about this sort of thing
Right.
for 5 years now, so it's nice to see it
Thank
coming
you.
to fruition.
Thank you.
And if I could just add through the chair, I think you minimized a little bit, Jen, the work to get the high school on the digital MCAS this year, because that was a huge task, and there was a lot of trepidation by staff, probably less so by the students because they had done that in 8th grade. But there were a lot of concerns, and that went off flawlessly. And the tech staff really was there to make sure that there weren't any blips. And I think it probably went better for our students and staff than it did many other districts where you hear some horror stories.
Mm.
So well done.
And thank you as well for helping the 10th graders get their Chromebooks, because somehow it was, I don't know if it was an oversight, but the 6th graders at the time still had their same Chromebooks in 10th grade, so she helped cycle those out this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
I'm gonna stay up here, Chris, if Chris is next.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Maury?
Chris. Sit there.
Yeah, sure.
Neighbor.
Hi, Chris.
So are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about our participation numbers and some of the successes for the athletic department for the past year. Basically, at the high school level, we had 389 students from our enrollment that participated in at least one sport throughout the school year, and at the middle school, we had 152. If you take a look at, just as a comparison, if you take our rosters from this year and total all the athletes on them, you'd come up with a number of 681. And if you go back 5 years to 2014-15, you would have a total of 499. So over the past 5 years, the participation in our athletic programs at the high school, middle school level has increased by 182 students, which we're really glad to see. Obviously, one of the things we try to do is involve as many kids as we possibly can in the after-school programs, and I think that we've seen a tremendous increase over the past few years. with regards to gameplay, game travel, so on and so forth, if you total everything up between the high school and the middle school and tournament games, you have a total of 690 games that were played between all those different teams. From that standpoint, that's every single game, whether it's us at home or us away, involves a travel for one team or the other. And happy to say that every single one of those went off successfully. We did not have any kind of problems of any kind, and that everybody that came here got back home, and everybody that went away got back home.
That doesn't always happen. At least in the same night.
We've been fortunate in that I can say that this was my 11th year as athletic director, that I have never had a team from America get trapped over on this side of the pond. We have from time to time have our teams that have gotten trapped over in Hyannis. From a standpoint of athletic successes, and I won't go through everything here, but bottom line is we had 8 different teams that won league championships out of the 20 varsity level programs that we have here at the school. Football, boys soccer, girls soccer, the 2 swim teams, boys and girls basketball, and boys lacrosse are all teams that won league championships. And we had 16 teams that qualified for state tournament play. And we're very proud of the fact for a school our size to see the level of competition that we play and see us with so many teams that are successful. It's kind of proof that as we increase the levels of participation, we're not necessarily watering down the standards from the standpoint of the level of play. A couple teams I'll mention in particular, just real quick. Our boys soccer team, which has always been a very, very strong program, had another great year, made it to the state semifinals again, and lost a heartbreaker to Cohasset by a 2-1 score. That's a game that went through 2 overtimes and then went to a shootout before they lost that. NHS swim team, I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail later because they obviously had quite a year. Just came back from the boys lacrosse banquet or award ceremony, which was today. Boys lacrosse had an undefeated regular season at 18-0 and made it to the semifinal round and lost to that same school again, Cohasset, which always seems to be the school that seems to be able to bump us out of tournament play. I want to talk about academic success because obviously we always talk and we always promote from a standpoint of academics coming before athletics and promote the student athlete rather than just the athlete. For this year, we presented 80 principals list plaques to student athletes who achieved high honor status, and we presented 193 honor roll certificates to student athletes who achieved honor roll status during the season of play. That's a total of 373 academic awards that were given out to our student athlete, which is well exceeds, if you look at the number of student athletes that we had participate, that's quite an accomplishment to see that many awards that were given out. We each season of play award a plaque to the team with the highest overall GPA, and you'll see it's girls soccer, girls swimming, and girls lacrosse. And girls historically have just seemed to grade higher from a standpoint of the boys, but I will tell you right now that we are seeing marked improvement right straight across the board, in particular in the boys program, where we're giving more and more of these academic awards at the boys awards ceremony each and every season and each and every year. And when you look at the overall cumulative GPA for our athletes, it's 3.72, which is really remarkable when you balance the rigors of what it takes to be a competitive varsity athlete or JV athlete at the high school level with the academic standards that they're expected to meet. That shows some great work and effort on their part. I'm going to just touch base on a few things from a standpoint of the athletic department that we had to work through this year. The first being that we were challenged with having to replace 7 head coaches for this past season, and never easy finding coaches period around here. We felt very fortunate that we were able to fill all those vacancies, and I will say that every one of them we felt did a great job. We're fortunate in that we've got 6 of that 7 are going to return. Our field hockey coach, Jamie Lauer, who also coached girls lacrosse this year. Just doesn't feel she can do the double duty. So that is the one vacancy that we have left open that we're going to need to fill this year. Cape and Islands League expansion is a project that I personally have been working on for the past 6 years. When I first took over as athletic director, we were still in the Lighthouse League. We reformed the old Cape and Islands League back in 2010 with the idea that we would expand and try and include all of the schools in the Cape and Islands area. I'm happy to say that that finally has been completed, that for the 2019-2020 school year, there will be 14 teams in the Cape and Islands League. The larger schools, Barnstable, Dennis, Yarmouth, Falmouth, Sandwich, and Nauset are all coming on board for next year. And that is just going to make a world of difference from a lot of our different athletic teams. With the expansion of the league will go into a 2-divisional setup for a lot of sports. The division that will house the larger or stronger schools is going to be called the Atlantic Division. The smaller school division is going to be the Lighthouse Division. A lot of our teams are going to play up. They're going to play in that Atlantic Division, and they want to because basically one of the positives to the expansion of this league is that we are looking for better competition for our teams. We have a number of teams that just flat out in the league that we're in right now, with the league setup that we've been in for the last few years, we have dominated, and we feel that stronger competition is a plus for our kids and will be a plus from a standpoint of moving forward in tournament play. With that divisional alignment, there's a rule that comes into play that will be beneficial to our programs. It's called the Sullivan Rule. And you will see teams from time to time that get into state tournament play and they have a record that is below 500. So basically the way the Sullivan Rule works is this: if you are a smaller school playing in a league division that has 70% or more schools of a higher division, only your games against your like opponents count towards state tournament play. So the team that our softball team played in state tournament this year, Bourne came in with a record of 6-14. They got into state tournament play through the Sullivan Rule. So even though some of our teams may be playing tougher competition, even they may not come up with the same heavy-sided records that they've had in the past, they're going to play better competition. They're going to be better prepared to play in state tournament level play. Island Cup, which last year was, previous year was postponed, did get back on the table this past fall, and we hosted the Vineyard here. Don Herman, who was the former coach at Martha's Vineyard, is back on helm, and our boys handled Martha's Vineyard very well in that Island Cup, winning by a score of 48-7. So it was good to see that back on the table. That game is going to change now. Because Martha's Vineyard is now a full member of the Cape and Islands League, so it is now a league game. So the Island Cup will no longer be played as that last game of the year. It's going to be a league game, and this year the Island Cup game is scheduled for October 26th, which is the last week of league play. We will be traveling to the Vineyard this year. There was talk about trying to play them twice, keep the Island Cup in the place that it was in, but Coach Sherman did not want to do that. I think if the tides were turning, maybe his program was a little stronger, he might have wanted to go along with that, but I don't think he's looking to get his team beat the way they've been getting beat twice in 1 year.
They could play better.
So we keep the cup, Chris, is what you're saying, right?
Well, we still play them, though, and the cup will change hands if that happens wrongly.
Even though it will be a league game, and for those who know a little bit about the history of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket football for quite a few years, both schools were in the Mayflower League together. A lot of times the game between Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard always came down to a league championship and also to a Super Bowl berth. So this puts it back in that boat. The other nice thing about having Martha's Vineyard, they're now in the same league with us. We are playing them in just about every single sport, which is great for all of our other sports, because Martha's Vineyard is our rival school, and everybody enjoys having those rival games. So we will be playing them. We played them twice this past year in basketball, field hockey, soccer, boys soccer, girls soccer, ice hockey. So we will be continuing to play them as a league opponent in every sport that the two schools match up in.
Well, Chris, are you de-emphasizing the cup game then?
No, we are not de-emphasizing the cup game. The cup game now will have the extra of being a possible league championship game. Because as far as the Cape and Islands League goes, those two divisions, we are going to be in a division that will have Nantucket, Monomoy, Martha's Vineyard, and Sandwich. Will be the Lighthouse division for football.
Is there going to be diagonal play?
You mean across divisions?
Yeah.
That's optional. That's not mandatory. For this season, we are not playing anybody that is in that larger division. One of the nice things about the two divisions in a league such as this is you can work to create parity, and all the athletic directors involved have agreed that we're going to review alignments on an annual basis, just trying to make sure that we have the different schools, the different teams in the right divisions. And just because a school is in the Atlantic division in soccer does not mean that they have to be in the Atlantic division for another sport. It's going to be done so that we create as much parity as we possibly can. Going to speak just to him for a minute to the addition of the position as of middle school assistant to the athletic director. Travis Lombardi took on that role starting this spring, and that has worked out terrific. It's been great for me from a standpoint of taking a little bit off of my plate, a little weight off of my plate, and we're looking at it from a standpoint as we move into the fall into next year, as that's going to be a plus from a standpoint of being able to provide a little bit better services for our middle school students. As we look at our enrollments at that level, that has not increased at the rate that the high school programs have, and we're going to work to try and get more programs on board. And we feel like with Travis being able to head up that program and taking that, me working with him, taking the weight of it off my shoulders, we'll be able to do more there. We're going to start this year by trying to do intramural programs for the programs that we offer at the high school at the middle school level, and see if we can start to developing some programs in those respects. Since we're talking about middle school, we have a proposal that has gone forward, and this is something that we've been working with. I'm just going to have you pass those out so everybody's got a copy. We've been working with the Boys and Girls Club for a number of years with regards to their football program and our football program, and making sure that both programs are in sync and working together. The Boys Club program has really dropped in enrollment. They've been trying to manage a program that has been grades 5, 6, and 7 for contact football, and they've been trying to manage an on-island league. The bottom line is that the numbers are just not there to really create a league. Most of the time they can't field more than 2 teams, so that the level of interest has become very, very tough. So in working with the Boys and Girls Club, we've come up with a plan where what we're going to do is Boys and Girls Club is going to retain 5th and 6th graders, and they are going to they're running a flag football program that will include 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We're going to pick up the 7th graders over here and pair them up with our 8th graders, and we have gotten ourselves into a league where we'll be playing against middle school teams. Currently, our 8th graders, or a lot of our 8th graders, have been playing with a high school program at the JV level. We've been very careful from a standpoint of where and how we use them, and what we found is that with them on a JV program, we just have not been able to get them much playing time, because a lot of the schools that we're playing against, their team makeup is a lot of sophomores. They're sophomores and juniors on that team. So we feel what we put together here is a much better balance from the standpoint of being able to have them play against light competition, We feel that anytime we can get a program that we house here at the school, we feel that there's just a lot of pluses to it. It makes it easier for us to monitor academics. It makes it easier for us to monitor disciplinary issues. And it's we feel that our coaching staff, the existence of our athletic trainer and our medical coverage here, just puts them in a much better environment to play this particular sport.
I'm just going to interject, if I may. I think what convinced me to get on board with this really is 5th and 6th going to flag football instead of playing contact. And I think a lot of the research out there is showing that with successive concussions at the earlier ages, that's a problem. So that was the piece that convinced me they can play flag football, and then 7th and 8th will play together, with the caveat that there may be an 8th grader who is physically too big to play in the 7th and 8th grade league. And then through both the coaches and the parents, the option would be for that child to play up if both the parents and the coaches feel that that is what's best for the individual and for others. Doesn't happen often, but we know a couple of cases in the past 5 years where there was a lot of reluctance by other teams because we had a huge 7th grader at the time, and then 8th grader. So that's, but that will be decided on a case by case. But the real win there is the 5th and 6th grade.
I agree with you.
Yeah, we feel like all the safety mechanisms are in place so that we will be able to get kids so that they're playing at the correct level. We were a little concerned at first that we might not have the participation numbers where without the 8th graders that we could still field a JV level program, but our early sign-up numbers and early meeting numbers for football are showing us that we think we're going to be just fine. We're seeing right now we've got on the list for grades 9 through 12 58 players listed, and for grades 7 and 8 we're looking at about 28 kids. So we feel that we'll have adequate numbers to be able to field all 3 levels of the program. We are very heavy in the high school ranks in the freshman class. One of the benefits of the expanded league is that those larger schools in the league all have freshman football teams. So if we feel that it's better parity to have a freshman team versus a JV team, we can always go that route. So everybody in the league is on board to work with different schools so that you can achieve that kind of parity. And especially with a sport like football, you want to make sure that your kids are playing at the right level and that they're protected. We have some information that I put in regarding a question that Jude asked, but I think before we move on to that, I'll just ask if you have any questions regarding any of the information that we've talked about already.
Steve, any questions?
I do, working backwards. Do we have to approve this change of program, or is it a done deal through the administration?
I don't think you do.
Okay.
I welcome the the consensus of the school committee for that. I think really this is taking a program that's in existence on the island and just bringing it from Boys and Girls Club.
Yep, I just a technical question.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Chris, there are too many things to commend you for, so I'm going to pick 2. First of all, the continued focus on academics I greatly appreciate. I think it's so important to the kids to know that we still value that. And the other thing is, commend you for finally getting this full-sized Cape and Islands League together. I've been around long enough to have been here when we were struggling to find opponents and knew that things had to change. And it's taken an awfully long time. It must feel like it to you. But I think it's great that it's finally in place with the entire Cape participating. Nice work.
Thank you.
Zona?
Thank you, Chris. It's looks like an awesome school year, and those numbers of games and athletes, it's phenomenal. The GPA looks great. So I thank you for all you do for the past 11 years.
Pauline?
I would echo Zona. I mean, I think the GPA and the principal list is just commendable. Just knowing how much time out of school our students have when they're having to travel and then maintain their classes and keeping their grades up is fabulous. So well done. And I'm really happy to see the changes in the football program. And I think the more that we have research, we can't ignore what's coming out. And I'm happy to see that those changes are being made. So thank you.
Tim?
I think we put 50 on the vineyard next year.
No pressure.
I think that the GPAs are very interesting. I really appreciate seeing the boys' football, 3.78. That's amazing to me. I don't know. I don't think we've ever seen that number before.
We haven't, and when you look at some of the numbers for a lot of the boys' teams, like I said earlier, you're seeing that those are all on the incline. And I'll give a lot of the credit there, not only to the kids, but to the coaching staffs as well, because the coaching staffs have adopted just exactly what we're trying to accomplish. And they're sending a clear message that, in order to participate in athletics, it's a privilege, it's not a right. You have to maintain a certain standard. Our standard is actually higher than the state standard. We work on a no-fail system here. So you can't be failing a class and play a sport. We do have an academic probation plan that we have in place, so that if a student is failing just one class, we can put them on an academic probation plan where they have weekly sign-in sheets where they go see all their teachers and they get sign-off, so that that program has worked very well from a standpoint of creating a good connection with our student athletes and the teachers, for the student athletes that are struggling, so that they start to build better relationships. And we've seen, marked improvements from a standpoint of anybody that's gone on that plan. I will also say that we have seen a drop in the number of those plans that we have had to put kids on over the last few years, which is, again, a credit from the standpoint of the kids and the coaches getting the message and really putting in the work.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Chris. With the league expansion, is that could that potentially mean more games for a particular sport
Well,
during the season?
the number of games, no, because the number of games are all regulated by the MIA. You have a maximum number of games that you can play in any season. I mean, some of the positives from a standpoint of the league, and one of the reasons we've been pushing for it, is not just from a standpoint of us, but from a standpoint of all the Cape schools. A big block of the schools that are coming into the Cape and Islands League were formerly the Atlantic Coast Conference, and the other schools in that conference, one of the other schools in that conference was Marshfield. So for those schools, that's a very, very difficult travel. We basically have a league now where, from our standpoint, we don't have to go on the other side of the bridge. We can play our games by staying in the Cape area, which is a huge plus from a standpoint of the times that we have to dismiss and the amount of travel that's involved. So it's a big plus in those respects. From a standpoint of how many games you play, no, that's already regulated.
Okay, thank you. I was just interested in that. And just to comment, I'm so excited and happy to hear that it's working out with your assistant Travis in the middle school. I think that's a really important opportunity to continue to grow those programs. So
Well, it's going to be a huge plus, because the truth of the matter is it's just going to give us the ability to get ideas that we've had really off the ground with somebody else taking the lead on that. I mean, we've already talked about a number of different programs that we want to get started over there, and we think by doing it at the intramural basis, it will start to help to build a feeder system for some of the programs that we've started here that we don't have now.
Great. Well, thank you very much. It was a great presentation.
Can I
So
just
much
tag on to
information.
that?
Sure.
That's another one of those things that we've been talking about for a lot of years, and it's nice to see it coming to fruition.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Just two other things I want to mention before we go on to this question. And I said I was going to talk about the swim team a little bit, and I think everybody knows what a fabulous year they had. The boys swim team, by winning the South Sectional, became the first team sport in our school history that has won a state sectional meet like that. And we were very excited about everything that they accomplished, and also with the girls' programs. But both programs did very, very well at states. In the state finals meet, the girls finished 6th, and our boys' team came in 2nd, which for a school our size, and if you look at the schools that they're competing against, is really remarkable. And I give, Coach Pignato a lot of credit for running such a great program. The other program I want to talk about just for a minute is our tennis program, which is obviously a new program, but it really took off this year. Girls program made school history by winning their first ever match. They ended up with a 5-9 record on the season, so they won 5 matches this season. Marked improvement over what they did in their first varsity year last year. And our boys team outdid that by finishing the season with an 8-6 record. They qualified for state tournaments, so they became the first Nantucket High School tennis team to qualify for state tournament play. And then they turned around and they beat Bourne in a preliminary round match here, which gave them the honor of being the first Nantucket High School tennis team to ever win a state tournament match. You wouldn't expect it if you took an offensive line coach from the football team and made him your tennis coach that would have that kind of impact. But I got to tell you, Von Machado, who has been the tennis pro, I think at Sankaty he was the tennis pro there for 30 some odd years, has done a fantastic job, not only with the boys program, but putting energy into the girls program as well. So that program is here to stay, and a lot of good positive for the future with that program.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, if you don't mind just speaking to the question that we had. And
so the question was one of whether or not to establish a policy for drug testing of student athletes. I gave you what I found through my research. I also gave you a sheet where John Bucky had done the same with the MIA and also with Masada. The bottom line is the reaction across the board is one that you don't want to go there. There are just too many legal implications that will create problems. I think aside from the legal implications, there are a lot of schools that just say it kind of carries a bad tone from a standpoint of setting the precedence of putting your athletes in the position where they're being proven guilty or they're guilty before being proven innocent. Is the nuts and bolts of it. We feel we have adequate mechanisms in place. We monitor the behaviors as best we can. Our standards are that we're not detectives. We don't go looking for the problems, but when the problems are put on the table, you can rest assured that they are dealt with.
Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out and investigating and researching for us. I will say I also reached out to Jim Hardy, and he said that he was not aware of any schools doing any kind of drug testing or analysis as well for sports or athletes. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I'm one of the people that had that question, and I just want to comment to the fact that maybe that wasn't the right question or the way to answer it, but my concern is this, that we are in the know that we have a problem here on the island. We can admit it or not. It's how we choose to deal with it. I don't want us to react to a tragedy. I want us to prevent one. So that's the angle I'm coming from. So I really would like to have a much more candid conversation, and I'm asking that this be put on the agenda for the workshop.
Retreat. Thank you.
So that's where I just want everyone to know where I'm coming from. I mean, I know there were others that had the question as well, but
thank you.
I would just I'm going to tell you right now, I completely agree with you, and that I think that the problem that you're talking about is, I don't think it's a school issue. I don't think it's a school problem. I think it's a community problem. And I really think the group that we really need to get involved in, we really need to reach is our parent base.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I can reserve them to the retreat.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to have this.
But I want to commend Chris for the breadth and depth of the research you did. To my own horn, I read every word of it. I went to every one of the links that you put up there. And it was a lot of information that should find very useful
It was
when we
very
look into
interesting.
this.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And John, thank you as well for
Yes.
reaching out. I appreciate that. I think we all do. It's just an interesting topic to learn more about. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for everything.
All right, moving on to committee discussions and votes to take. Any questions or comments on the revised calendar for 2019-2020?
That was only the one date, right?
Right.
It was only the
Right.
Yep.
changing December 4th to December 11th for the half-day release.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve donation for the Nantucket Community School for the Dolphin Swim Program travel expenses from the Dolphin Swim Team Booster Club in the amount of $546.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve the donation to NIS for 4th grade Museum of Science trip in the amount of $170 from the Friends of Nantucket Public School.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve donation to NES from Ahold Delhaize USA for A+ Rewards Stop and Shop in the amount of $1,983.25.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to approve the donation to Nantucket Community School from Remain in the amount of $12,500.
Move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
A vote to appoint school committee clerk Logan.
Do we have just the one candidate?
Anyone?
No, I'm asking.
Any other interest?
We have to be careful that the one doesn't take 3 steps back.
Exactly.
I move
Exactly.
to
Second.
approve her as clerk if that's what she wants.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Second.
Aye.
All right. A vote to approve June 4th, 2019 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? A
Aye.
vote to approve transfers and invoices.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Superintendent's report.
Through the chairman, I just have a quick question. The Dolphin Swim Team Boosters Club, didn't we sort of try to lump things together rather than having individual booster clubs raising money for particular teams?
I think the difference is when you're talking about school teams, we have an overall booster club for all school teams. This really isn't a school team with the Dolphins. This is a team through the community school that's not representing necessarily Nantucket elementary or intermediate or middle school. So I think that's the distinction.
Thank you. End of your activities.
Yes, tomorrow is the last day, so.
They've come and gone.
Last day for students. It's a half day and staff. We had the ice cream social. Thank you all for being there and trying to scoop out the ice cream that was a brick.
It certainly was.
That wasn't easy scooping, but it was a fun event. And nice to send our retirees off with some acknowledgement. And then, tomorrow's the last day of this year, but planning has already begun for next year. And that's the way that it works in our business. So I don't really have a lot of other activities. I do know that Mr. Horton is trying to put together some golf at Skinner's for any staff members who want to play. So if there's a school committee member that's interested in playing golf, you could join that group tomorrow, weather permitting. And then I wanted to just speak quickly to the draft calendar for 2021. There is work to do on this. We're not ready to present it for your approval. And actually, this will be affected by collective bargaining. So I think this gives you, though, a glimpse of something and sort of playing our hand publicly with the calendar with something that that Beth Hallett speculated. Dr. Hallett wondered if it might make sense to take one of those 4 pre-service days and make it 3 and spread that day into some time throughout the school year that might be better used rather than having a day in advance. That may or may not fly, but it's another way of looking at how we use time. And the concern being that EWD is an hour and 5 minutes. While it's nice to have, it doesn't give us a block of time to really put together some meaningful work. So stay tuned. Just wanted to show it to you, but have you understand why we're not coming for approval of that calendar at this point.
My recollection, if I may, is that there are some additional professional days in the contract, but if you were to exercise those, we'd have to be adding school days because they won't count as school days. Whereas moving this one would be essentially a professional day, but later in the year.
Could be later in the year, or you could take those 6 or 7 hours from that one day and add them to some of the half days, extending that half day a little bit. And that way you wouldn't be adding a day to the end of the calendar.
Right.
Was Beth's thinking, and I think it's worth discussing.
Especially in a year where Labor Day is so late.
Exactly. Okay. And that's all that I have to offer. We do have a new student council representative. Joel McVicker has been elected. I think that'll be a wonderful choice. He had a lacrosse banquet tonight, or he would have been here, but he will be joining us before long, and I think he'll be a great,
excellent choice.
He's a fine young man. So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Any subcommittee work that we want to report on for now? Okay. All right.
No, just remind people that the 8th grade,
Celebration, graduation.
yeah, whatever they call it now, because it isn't a
it's a
graduation.
ceremony, I think,
Ceremony.
and
Promotion ceremony
Right.
is at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I double-checked that to make sure I was out there early enough. So 8:30.
and clap out at NIS where they're watching the weather.
We're watching the weather. If it doesn't rain, we're gonna try to be at NES for no later than 11:40 to walk through their NES first and then NIS.
And if it's pouring, it'll just be at NIS. So 8:30. If you have the whole day to give, you can go to the
Go from one to the other.
8th grade
That's
and
right.
then go to
the clap out.
clap out and then play golf.
Thank you. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Wait,
Sorry.
Oh.
parking lot.
Parking lot, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Kim, I just want to make sure if we can get Kim on one of our agendas? Are we gonna have another meeting in July? Or are we just gonna have the one?
Oh, I thank you for that. I did highlight that and wondered. Typically, you've had one in July and maybe in the middle of July. I think that might make sense because July 2nd is sort of coming right up on July 4th.
Right.
So you might want to have it the 9th or even the 16th. So thank you, Zona, for that. Whatever the school committee's pleasure is.
still looking at just one
I
date
think
in
one
July?
in July and 2 in August is what we've done.
Okay.
I'm available. The 9th works best for me, but I can make the 16th.
July 9th is fine for me.
And for me
10.
too.
Okay. And then the retreat on the 25th is at 4:30, and Tracy has arranged for us to use 56 Center
Oh,
as we
thank
did
you.
last
Well,
year.
thank you.
Ah,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good.
Okay.
Parking space right in front for me.
So you'll see if we maybe can add Kim to that, or how long is her presentation gonna be and what it's about. Kim Horn, Sorry.
When you say Kim, I'm thinking Kim Kubish. I'm sorry. So Kim Horn, she hasn't really gotten back to us.
She's been very reluctant to commit to it.
Yeah. So we won't
Okay.
lose sight of it, but that's on her end, not ours,
Got it.
in terms of scheduling. And the Denmark exchange we're not going to do this year. So that shows on the parking lot, but we're
It's
going
for
to take it off.
Next school year.
Possibly the following school year.
Ja, jeg tror, det bliver samt.
So,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to
So moved.
adjourn.
thank you.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.